Sonya and Sasha, for real.
BRIMBANK Live on Live FM. You've got the Sonya and Sasha for Real show on a beautiful Friday. And I think that everybody in the world, unless you've been under a rock, might have heard that there's some little tiny thing happening over in the States right now. Just a little tiny thing called the election. And we still don't know. We're days into it. We've got a new special person associated with.
We do. We have
a political correspondent. Can you believe our professional work?
We've got our own political correspondent.
I don't even know.
We don't even know anything about politics. That's how brilliant it is.
That's why we've got Marcus Napolitano to break it all down today. Thank you. Come back. How are you, Marcus? What's going on? Big things in your world. Big things. What's happening? Do we know who won yet?
I wish I could come and tell you the breaking news live and exclusive on the Sonya and Sasha for Real show, but I don't even know that they know themselves what's going on there at the moment. There's 3 million votes between Biden and Trump, the other guy, and the Senate is really, really, really close, as is the House, and there's some key states that we're just looking at really, really, really closely, and the Electoral College is actually really close. I know Biden's leading at the moment, but don't underestimate Trump. He could just get up there, but I actually reckon that Biden will slip over.
Well, do you know that Sportsbet and Bet.com are paying out for Biden to win? Did you hear that this morning?
Yep, I did hear that this morning.
So they've called it. I mean, the rest of the world hasn't, but don't worry, Sportsbet has called it. They're now becoming a political correspondent for the world, actually.
They're the people who know.
I don't understand. What's a college vote? That's not SRC, is it?
Yeah. So no. So the Electoral College runs, there's, I think, over 500 Electoral College votes. You need 270 to get the presidency. And the Electoral College is sort of founded on the population of a particular state. So California, considering that they have millions and millions of people compared to a dead state in the middle of the America, somewhere where cowboys and hillbillies live, California has 50 Electoral College votes. So it's a great grab for the Democrats to get California, but you know, you've got something like, I think, Georgia, which has only got 16 Electoral College votes and something like that. So it varies compared to the population of the actual state.
Okay, right. So I watched.
Did you still get that? Did you get that, Sonya?
I sort of got that.
Oh, so there's lots of people, you got lots. If there's not much, you got not much. That's what I got.
I get that now. But I watched Trump before we came on air today. I watched Trump speak on Channel 9. And it was, I thought, typical Trump. He might have lost it a tiny bit more, but we had, you know, if I had to take a shot after the number of times he said tremendous and phenomenal, I'd be in hospital right now, because this guy was just going on and on about he's going to be, you know, taking it to court, and, you know, the big, the Democrats, you know, have got big tech and big, you know, donations from people. That's exactly what he had in 2000. You know, to win. So it just didn't make any sense to me. None of what he's saying
it doesn't make any sense.
Have any legs, or what do you think is going to happen with that, Marcus?
Well, in regards to the court proceedings, I don't think he has any legs, in particular within taking it to court within Michigan and Wisconsin. I can never say that correctly, but I think he does have a potential case in Pennsylvania, and I'll tell you why. It's because you know how you've done your cancel elections right now. So if you're in the city of BRIMBANK, you had to put in your ballot papers in the mail by the 23rd of October at 6 p.m. So in the red boxes, 23rd of October, 6 p.m. After that, they're not counted, right?
Yep.
It's the exact same thing in Pennsylvania. You had to drop it in your mailbox by a certain time on election day. Trump is saying that, considering that they're going to be taken by the postman and then delivered to the electoral centers and all of that sort of thing, they're classified as illegal votes, because you could have put it into the post box on election day, but the postman might not necessarily come past to collect the mail for 3 days. So he's classifying that as an illegal vote. Now, how that constitutionally validates itself will be a matter for the courts, of course. But I think he may potentially have a case there. It'll be very hard to argue. He has to argue it on a state level before it goes to the Supreme level at any sort of case. But I think it will be really, really, really difficult for a court to somewhat determine the election.
But so if he wins, if he wins in Pennsylvania, then if he wins that court case, will that give him enough electoral votes to go to actually claim the presidency? And that means that it'll be dragging on forever for us?
I don't think the courts will say, Trump, you've won. I think what the courts will potentially say is, let's do a recount or something like that. But I don't think they'll say, let's do the votes again. You can't, in America, election day, first Tuesday in November, final.
Yep. Do you know, listening to them both speak, and watch, I listened to Biden. I thought he sounded presidential. He was really, and he's picked up on the fact that Trump is so divisive, and he's tried to bring everybody together. I'm going to govern as a president, for all. There's no red and blue. It's just the United States of America. Whereas Trump is still so divisive in terms of the us and them, and they've won. So, but what's really interesting is that half of America, it's a pretty even split right now, which means that half of America.
Yeah, half of America are voting completely different. And how's that going to play out once this is all finished?
Yeah, it's an interesting question considering that half of America have voted for Trump. And I think it goes to the fact that there is an economic side to this, and we have to consider the pandemic, and people look to Trump and say, well, you're a businessman, you've made billions of dollars some way or another. Our economy is in absolute debt. He has helped the economy. Many commentators argue that he actually has improved employment, the employment rate within America and so forth of that nature. And you've seen many of these Rust Belt states, such as Texas and Florida, which just cusped over to Trump as the winner in those states, really, feeling the heat of this pandemic. And it's for that reason that I think that Americans have been drawn back to Trump, because they're thinking about the economy. They're not necessarily thinking about their health solely.
It's actually heartbreaking to think that it's 2020 and that so much division can actually occur within one country. Putting all aside all of that stuff, for me, I look at it and I go, I think this is just completely heartbreaking, because people are fighting with each other. Friends are fighting with each other with their different political views. Yeah,
it's absolutely terrible what's going on. Many people will say, well, it's 2020, anything can happen in 2020. But when you see Tiffany & Co and Gucci in Times Square or in Washington barricading themselves, and you've got a 3-kilometer fence around the White House and everything, you wouldn't have seen that back when Obama, Bush or Clinton, coming from, different times and different political parties, you wouldn't have seen that. America has changed, and has changed completely. And its change is for the good. Maybe we need to start discussing certain things like Black Lives Matter and all of that. Maybe that's been the underlying issues, and maybe they need to come to the forefront of people's minds at the moment.
Totally correct.
Oh, Marcus,
so it'll be very interesting in the next few days to see what happens over there, and to see, we just want, because we've got lots of friends who've been over there many times working. It's been a good country to us, Sasha, and so we just hope that our friends are safe, and that common sense prevails, and that we do have someone who can actually stabilize the country and bring it back to what it should be, and to take care of the beautiful people that are over there. And it's just a comedy, isn't it? Like, we look at this year and think there's been a pandemic, and we've got two of you can't, can you? You couldn't have written this as a script to have the
like an episode of Bold and the Beautiful, literally.
And then you're just like, yeah, absolutely.
Not real. It's not real. Marcus, you're a champion.
Much, Marcus.
Thank you so much for having me.
Champion. We'll have you back on the show to give us your roundup of what actually happened, who's in power, and then what that means for the states really soon. But thank you, our political correspondent, Marcus Napolitano. Thank you for being on the show, and we'll see you after the break. BRIMBANK Live on Live FM. This is the Sonya and Sacha For Real show.
Sonya and Sacha, for real.